My dear friends, I would like nothing more right now than to give you my early impressions of Another Crab's Treasure. Many, many thanks to the publisher for giving me a copy for review and streaming purposes. Yeah, I streamed the game for about 4 hours a couple days ago, and these impressions are coming from that experience. The footage is also coming from there as well. Apologies for the slightly less than ideal quality of the footage. This is the VOD, and I am still trying to figure out how to get better streaming settings, and I think I need to, like, update the stream key or something. I don't know, it's all confusing and frightening, and I'm still figuring it out. And then, like, you take the footage and then you render it, and then you put it on YouTube, and YouTube degrades it again, so it's a little bit fuzzy. But this is the footage that I have on hand and that I am familiar with. That's kind of the biggest thing. So I just went with it. I have been playing the game on PS5, if you are wondering. So this game, unsurprisingly, captured my interest pretty much right when it was revealed. It is a Souls-like, but it's kind of a cartoony, colorful Souls-like, and I am a very big fan of Souls-likes. But the thing about Souls-like is a lot of games have started to incorporate, like, Souls-like elements, but I feel like most of them are, like 2D games, like 2D indie games, just kind of using some of the mechanics, but we don't actually have a lot of full 3D movement, that same kind of combat. You don't actually get that a lot, and only just in the last couple years have we started to really see a lot more games like that. You've got this, Lies of P, Lords of the Fallen, that kind of stuff. And I will say right off the bat, like, this is something I want to see more. Taking the Souls-like style, the format, but just giving it a different vibe. It doesn't necessarily have to always be like dark fantasy, dying worlds and all that stuff. You play as a crab, a cute little crab who's trying to get his shell back in this, like, silly ocean world, and I think that's fantastic. I think that's really, really amazing. This is something I definitely want to see more. But because of the kind of different vibe, pretty much my biggest question going in... Okay, well, I'd say I had two big questions. One, are they going to be able to deliver satisfying gameplay? Because it is a big, fully 3D action combat kind of game, is it gonna feel as good to play as, say, a FromSoft game? And then the even bigger question, is it gonna be as hard? Is it going to really lean into the difficulty element that you usually see in these types of games? For the first question, I say yes. The gameplay is very satisfying. I mean, like, it's maybe not as quite as, like, finely tuned as, Elden Ring or something. This is an indie game. They don't have millions and millions of dollars to spend on, like, fine-tuning this kind of thing. But I would say overall, like, it still feels great. It feels terrific to play. The combat still feels really, really good. Everything just works really well. And then as far as difficulty goes, I'm not, like, super duper far into the game, but I did play up to and a little bit past, like, the first major story boss. And yeah, it is decently tough so far. It really is. In fact, that first boss, like, took me, I don't know, must have been a couple dozen tries. So, like, that's pretty good. And, a lot of it comes down to I'm still learning the game and learning quite how to do it. But I don't know, I would say for someone who's played enough Souls-likes to come up against a boss and for it to take that many tries, like, that's really saying something right there. Like, the game, it doesn't pull its punches. They really did want to deliver that same kind of difficulty, and I think that they were even more empowered to do so because, unlike, say, a Dark Souls game or whatever, this one actually has difficulty options, which is really fantastic. There's a whole bunch of different options, different things that you can toggle to make the game easier in, like, really specific ways. So it's a lot more accessible, it's a lot more approachable, and so they're like, all right, there you go, you've got your options, which means that for anyone who doesn't want to play with those options, we can make it pretty hard. So that's really nice. I was really, really happy to see that. I would not be opposed to a Souls-like that kind of eases up on the difficulty thing just a little bit, just because that kind of thing could provide something of a, I don't know, refreshing experience. It doesn't always have to be super duper hard, but at the same time, I am happy that the challenge is there because I really do like a challenge. And even if the challenge is there, a lot of the other features that you normally see in these games have been kind of scaled back just a little bit. It's a little bit less complex. You're not going to be putting as much time into like figuring out builds and weapons and things. Most of its systems are a little bit more simple. That's not to say they're overly simple. There's still a lot of different elements. There's a lot of different things that you can equip to yourself. You've got this whole like shell swapping system, which is actually very, very clever. Like you run around and there are just shells everywhere. You don't just get one and it's your favorite and you keep it forever. You're always switching them out, and they each have different attributes, and each one even has like a different special move. Like kind of like your magic is sort of just like the ability that comes with each shell, which is just cool because it just kind of, it keeps you changing. It keeps you like constantly kind of shifting what attacks you can do. If you do really well and you don't take a lot of damage on your shell, you can keep it for longer, but then if it does break, you're looking around for another one. It keeps you improvising, and it's really cool. It's kind of a simple system, and yet it's just very dynamic. It's always changing, and that's really fun. And yeah, like you've got other stuff you can upgrade and other stuff that you can equip. But overall, yeah, it's just a little bit more simple. And like your stats, there's only a small handful of stats that you can upgrade. You're not going to be like, oh, I'm going to be a quality build. I'm going to be a magic build, a faith build, all this. Like it's really not. It's not like that. Leveling up is a much simpler ordeal, and that's what I like, because like I said, if you take some of these elements that are like very deep, these games, you've played a lot of these games, make them a little bit simpler. That can be just refreshing. It's just kind of a nice change of pace, and I like not having to worry about like fine-tuning my build. I like that all this other stuff is just a little bit simpler. It lets you just kind of, it just keeps the game moving, just keeps you just kind of playing and having fun and not really getting hung up on any one thing. I really like it. One thing that's kind of surprised me about the game is the style and the humor, because like, watching the trailers and stuff, it's going to be cute, it's going to be funny, there's going to be a lot of like ocean humor, like puns and stuff like that. But I would say two things about it have surprised me. One, it's just like the quality of the writing and the jokes and just like the characters. There's really well animated cutscenes and humor. It's just good. Like, it's just really particularly good. It's not just relying on puns. It's like really genuinely a funny game so far. And then the other surprising thing is that it is a little bit more adult than I expected, just based on like how the game looks. It looks very kid friendly. And yet, like, there is a much more kind of cynical undercurrent kind of running through the whole thing. Like, a lot of these jokes are definitely, absolutely aimed at an adult audience. And it's also really not just a story about a crab going on an adventure and there happens to be junk lying around that you can use, like, as items and stuff. Like, no, it definitely digs into all of these things, these themes of actual, real, like, ocean pollution and like what that's doing. I remember just being like, I wonder what kind of currency you're gonna get. Is it souls? Is it runes? Oh, it's the ocean. It's probably gonna be like trash, right? Something trash related. It is trash related, but specifically, it is microplastics. Just that right there kind of clues you in on the much more cynical and adult tone that the game takes. It is very funny. It never misses an opportunity to make some little statement about just all of this, all of pollution and capitalism and all that stuff. It's great. The final thing I'd like to talk about, the final element that has surprised me, really. There's a lot of surprises here. Really surprised by this game in a lot of ways. It's the fact that this is not just a Souls-like. This is not just a colorful Souls-like. It is also a 3D platformer. We've had a lot of people, indies mainly, mixing the Souls-like genre with other genres, usually to great success. Souls-like plus Metroidvania comes to mind. It's peanut butter and jelly. It's a match made in heaven. But here you've got a Souls-like that is also a platformer. You've got a jump button. You can jump wherever you want, and there is genuine platforming in there. You even get like a grappling hook that lets you like chain together these grapples and just like fly between platforms. And it's awesome. It's really, really cool having a Souls-like experience that is also a platformer. That those two things, they go together really well. And then even just in combat, being able to like jump freely in order to like do attacks or, dodge attacks. It's something that I'm kind of having to get used to. I have to like remind myself that like I can do that. I can use the third dimension to my advantage. And it's just another thing that makes the game just that much more fun and refreshing. There's not like a ton in the way of like the platforming. I haven't come across any like super duper tight Mario-esque platforming challenges or anything, but it kind of doesn't need that. It's just an element. It's a way that you move through the world, and so far it's very, very fun and satisfying. Movement is just a big thing. I mean, I've even gotten some shells that let me do like a roll attack, and you can like roll forward like super far and super fast, and even that right there is just a really great little element that just kind of like adds to the formula, just allows you to do something new and something fun and fresh with it. I'm only about 4 hours into the game, but like I can already tell this is a fantastic game. It's really, really great. I don't know if someone who's not into Souls-likes is going to connect with it. I think that there is a chance that they might because of the accessibility options. If you're having trouble with any one thing, you can change it, and that might help people kind of get into it. But I do feel like with Souls-likes, your brain has to be programmed to get into it. There's gotta be that little hook that gets into you. For some people, this is just not a game that's gonna work for them at all. It's not a style of game that's gonna work. But there are a lot of people, myself included, who start thinking it's not a game for them, thinking that Souls-likes aren't their thing, but like, there's this little tiny hook that's what happened with me in Dark Souls. There was just this little thing, and I was just like, this is really annoying and I hate it. But there's something that keeps me coming back. So it's possible that if like you have never played a Souls-like and you play this game, maybe that hook will get in you. Maybe it won't. I don't necessarily know if this game is gonna change your mind. It might. All that to say, if you think there is something there, if you have suspected that you might be into Souls-likes, this is a very good place to start because of those options. It's a very good place to start. It's it is very approachable, and the tone and everything. It's cute. It's fun. It's not just like this dark, horrible place that's just trying to bring you down and kill you unfairly a million times before you get strong enough to get anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, that's part of the experience normally. It's a little bit more forgiving while still offering that same level of challenge that you'll find in any Souls-like. And the presentation is great. Graphics are great. It's running pretty all right. A little bit of jank here and there, but on my PS5, for the most part, it's running quite well. Visuals are good. Animation's good. Voice acting, everything. It's just a really good game so far. I'm really extremely excited to play more. I hope that I get to stream more because that would be fun. Those are my early thoughts on Another Crab's Treasure. If you are playing the game, I would genuinely love to hear what you are thinking about it down in the comments. I'm hearing a lot of really positive stuff, and it is making me happy because I want to see more games like this happen. Have a good day. Goodbye.